with my DNA sequences. One moment. Yeah, let me see. I have a lot going on. It's like, oh my gosh.
You should probably just pause it and
Okay, I'm
go
going to have to
hunt.
pause it and go back and hunt down all my DNA sequences.
Hunt them down. The Red Sea, the river, the Red Sea. The Schuylkill River is red. It is red. It just has the name Kill in it. School. The river that is a Schuylkill River on either side. Interesting.
Seen adenine, thymine, adenine. Y'all remember when I showed you the raptor with the A and the T on his eye? A is 1, T is 20, 120, Adam, man. And then he had A and A, which is 11, place of destruction, because when coming into a host body and being a man is the place that they destroy angels. Genetic information in your body's cells. It's made up of 4 similar chemicals: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, which are called bases, and they're abbreviated as A, T, C, and G. These bases are repeated over and over in similar chemicals: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, which are called bases, and they're abbreviated as A, T, C, and G. These bases are repeated over and over in pairs to make of chromosomes. Genes are packed in bundles called chromosomes. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Here's another one. Basics of chromosomes. Genes are packed in bundles called chromosomes.
What if Joe Biden and Barack Obama were really representing the twin system, the black and the white, the light and the dark, the male-female system? The tree of life, a tree of the knowledge of good and evil, is one side is up, the other side is down. And you start out by leaving your first estate, where when you were born, that's what you were naturally, just the way that you are. And then you go for the forbidden fruit, which is the knowledge. Now you have the knowledge of that tree, because it's inside of you. And it would be one or the other. So in the world, that's what it would be like behind the scenes also. Because it's basically Obama's, it's basically like he was there first. He was there before Biden was there. And so then Biden gets there, he's like the last there. But it seems like Obama's running stuff. So if there was twins like that, but who's the good one and what's the evil one? Well, stay away from it, because it's neither or. It's either it is or it is not. Thou shalt not touch it, period, lest you die spiritually. You die spiritually, because it's a spiritual death decision that you make to leave your first estate. but it is free will. So everybody just goes about the free will. Don't mind me. I'm just a passerby. I'm like looking into YouTube. Who's in there? And I just give my opinion towards what I think, how I see things. And the best part about it is there's really no way of actually proving it. How's that the best part? Because that's how it's proven to the sets of eyes that have seen it, how the perception is. It lines up. Yeah, it lines up, but we all know that there's nothing I can do to prove it to anybody. But why does that matter? When you prove it to the ends of the earth, what's inside of the earth, eventually it can get to that point, but in the meantime, it's about the parameter of the earth, getting to the ends of it. That way there's like a barrier and it stops. From that point on, everything stops in that direction, and then it starts getting encompassed like that. And everybody can't feel that. So therefore, proving anything, I don't spend energy trying to prove it without any type of information backing it, or just knowing that I don't have to waste any energy doing that. And I don't think I ever wasted energy doing that, because it was something that's enjoyable anyway. Even if I'm completely delusional and 100% way off, at least it feels good being delusional. Hey, God said he's going to send a strong delusion. So if it's over in my direction, I guess I'm going to go all the way to the end, not realizing who it is that I've been revealing, and not really taking things all that serious, not realizing truly like what they're really capable of doing and have done, and people have seen it. And it's like when they're from the inside and they're looking at me from the outside, like, man, poor Rob, because I know there's a bunch of these out there. You're like, poor Rob, he has no clue what's getting ready to happen to him, and he thinks nothing's going to happen to him. Man, it's the fear of anything. I tell Satan what I feared, and then what I talk about obviously is something that I don't fear. So whatever's in your head, if it's a private thought, why is it not public? Can you make your private thoughts public? Like, what are you really saying? What are you really saying that you don't want to say out loud? Is it a secret? And then it's like transportation. It's getting ready. It's coming up. You can see it. It's something that's going to take you for a ride. You see it coming, so you can hop on, because you don't know where it's going to go, but you know it's safe. But it's like a roller coaster that maybe you could do at night. You can't really see. Like, you hop on a roller coaster in the dark, and you just go for the ride. So this is that ride right here. Whoever wants to hop on, this is the part where you hop on. I do think about what's really happening. I do think about it a lot. I think about the what ifs, all the way through. What if this person over here is really that, and then that person, and then they're going to wait to do that, and then here, and then once you get to that point, then this is going to happen. Well, when you do look at yourself as, because there's two ideas. One idea is Esau's idea. Second idea, Jacob wrestling with God, Israel. I don't know if Isaiah is attached to Israel just because it's Isaiah, Israel. I'm not sure, but Isaiah does talk a lot about things that pertain to what is similar to Israel. And Israel, it's not just like over in Israel, the land, because there's a miniature Israel that would be similar. It would have the Jordan River would be in between both, and it would be like red. It would be a red type of a sea. The Jordan River, Edom and Israel, Esau and Jacob. Didn't Esau steal the birthright? Or was Esau trying to... Oh, I can go? Surprised nobody beeped their horn at me. In my green screen. Esau, didn't he steal the birthright from Jacob? Or did Jacob give his birthright? Who gave up their spark? Or who convinced somebody to give it up? I got to look into it more. Again, I just speak on what I know in the Bible, the stories, and I don't know half of what the Pharisees and Sadducees know, but they do help me learn. I'll give them that credit. No matter what, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people learn from me, even if they thought I was delusional. So there's that. But I learned a lot from the Pharisees and Sadducees. And not all Pharisees are stuck on their ways. Like, some of them are willing to hear other things out. But there's a twin system. And when you make 2 1, and when you make 2 into 1, when you do a live stream, if you only use like 1 gigahertz or whatever it is if you use 2, you'll have a liver stream, and the stream will flow faster. How's that? The more power you have behind it. But I heard that if you go up north, there's better reception for the internet. More, because it's just higher up. Kind of makes sense. So the best part about what's happening right now at 5:03 p.m. March 16th, 2021, the best part about today is that I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I used to worry about tomorrow. I used to be concerned about where my rent money's going to come from. It doesn't matter anymore, because something always gives. The energy that I've learned in my life by what I call the one and only true God, the God. Like, I know there's gods of the earth, and I think the Lord of command, and the God of heaven, and there are titles, and gods are just, it's like people get too hung up on what God is. God is a creator. to creation. God creates. So all of these people that, when you control the sky and the scenery and everything up there, you're the God of the air. When you run the airwaves and you control people's minds, you're the Lord of the air, the Lord of the airwaves. If somebody else comes along and has a better idea, which is the second coming, and the firstborn, or the plague is killing the firstborn, that's because the firstborn got to go. The secondborn, it dies off, but the firstborn doesn't really die, literally. Just in the Bible, it means exactly that the idea that those firstborn have is no longer, because that's the Cain idea. Then Abel, Cain and Abel. But Cain killed Abel. Well, did Cain kill Abel, or did Cain kill his Abel to keep him from being able to do something? The firstborn idea, you need to get a second opinion. You got to start doing with second opinions, because the first idea is your impulsive thought. It's your first initial injected idea that you run with, and you just fulfill your flesh. You just do whatever it is that you do, your first idea, and that's representing your old you, because on the cross, there you are in the middle, the Jordan River, being baptized. It's bloody, it's red, it's parting the sea, and over here and over there, there's the bad thief and the good thief, because the good thief is now a good ex-thief. On your other side, there's your first thought. There's the Esau in you. Over here is the Jacob side, where you've wrestled with God, and then you get a new name, which is Israel, because you've wrestled with God, and then you became the good part, and then you pronounced the good news. That's what happens in all of our vessels as an individual, the single individual. Now Christ himself reached out to both sides, and not everybody, because not everybody repents, and they don't repent of their murders, the sorcerers, and their fornication. It's in the Bible. At that time, at the crucifixion, even Thomas, who had doubted so much, he still didn't believe until he was able to see that when he thrust his finger into the side where Christ was pierced. After he rose again, then he believed. And then Paul, well, he was murdering Christians beforehand, because the doctrine is, go do that thing over there, take from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then because there was 3 days Paul was blind. And also, you always look at it when they talk about days, and they use a day as a year, and then you got 3 years, and there will be a time where there's a literal 3 days that gets played out of something, and then it's really 3 years of the actuality of it, because that's what already had happened. And then going on the 3rd year, Paul was blinded, and then he finally was able to see. As soon as he was able to see, he was the one on the road to Damascus, all of us, even though he's the one that created the Damascus story anyway in the first place. In all likelihood, the one that plays that on earth. But remember this, Adam, who fell asleep, you see the first Adam and then the second Adam. It's a difference, because if the first Adam finally woke up, well, then wouldn't that make him the second Adam, which would mean that it's just the same Adam? But did Adam ever wake up? And then why was there a second Adam? It's like the first Peter and the second Peter. The first Peter came reminding people of whoever, is in front of his eyes at the time, and then the second Peter came. Or was it just a second letter that that 1 Peter wrote? Or is it 2 different Peters? Because John Baptist came baptizing, but people thought that he was the Christ. So he had a following, obviously, and he could have still passed for it, because until the New Testament shows up and combines the Old Testament together to make sense of everything, then John would be baptizing. But that's also the representing the old side, because even John himself had to get beheaded and had to also become humbled to announce that what people had believed that he was, he's announcing what is, because he bear witness of it. But somebody's playing. I mean, there's a lot of people playing the same spot, the same player, actor. But there truly is one that does it, because one person would be the leader of a group of people that speaks the truth, and then it gets out like that. So that would be that one person. But there's other people playing that person. There's many Christ. There's plenty of those. And it's like, who is David Christ? I went over this before. Is David Christ? Or is it David that reigned with Christ because Christ is with him in his spirit as King David? Or is King David Christ himself because Christ is inside? He has a heart after God. But Michael is like God as well. But doesn't Lucifer want to be like God at the same time? Who is like God? Michael is like God. Is that Jesus too? Or is that someone else? Because, it's just, the way it is so confusing. That's why I would understand that, you can blaspheme against the Son and the Father, but the Holy Spirit itself, the actual truth that's inside of your heart, if you have an idea real strongly as to like where your stance is in this realm, then if you're not following in that path that you know to be true, you're blaspheming the Holy Spirit that's trying to get you in line. But why would you blaspheme that? If the truth was in you, you would not do that. So to confuse things, yep. You can see it. Because when Christ was walking the planet, you have people that think that like he's God himself in flesh. You have people that think that. And that pisses other people off because of that. Because who can be that? Nobody can be God. Nobody is God, because God is a spirit. But God does use a mouthpiece all throughout the Bible. At certain points in times, there's one person with that mouthpiece that does that. And he always seems to have like 2 witnesses. Yeah, 2 witnesses can be in your one body. You do have good and evil inside of your spirit. They are 2 witnesses. This Satan and Christ inside of you. But you need 2 witnesses to testify, to stand before the God of the earth, because they would be the 2 witnesses that have the power to cause it to not rain. And you have to take that literally with what's being played out on the planet, even if Christ is both the witnesses in one vessel. But you have to always understand, like, yeah, that can be true too. But at the same time, here's another thing that's being fulfilled and played out, which is the two witnesses are actually two literal people. You might not even know what they look like. You might not even know their real voice, but you know the spirit, and that's the whole point. Like you catch the spirit wherever it's coming from. There's this medium thing here, this YouTube platform. Yeah, of course it's demonic. Yeah, obviously. You're speaking to demons when you're doing this. It's just a matter of how long until those demons get cast out because you're speaking to them. When they start to cast them out themselves because of you speaking to them, then obviously, yeah, you come into YouTube talking to demons. This is a demon connection. You talk to them in tongues until you cast demons out of them, because even the demons are frightened to death by it. So then you cast them out because of the doubt and the fear and the worry, like sharing. All you got to do is get a very high profile person to share, and then you'll see it. You'll see how the world changes, just like that. That's all that it takes. Because I think even Moses was like, like God, like who am I to? Well, do you have a lot of? Are you a shepherd? Well, yeah. Do you feed your flock? Yes, I do. I do. I give them Faucian bargains. I mean, they sign a lot of contract deals. Yeah, I feed them very well. Well, then start to share. That's all you got to do is just share. That's it. If I had all the world goods, I wouldn't have all the world goods. If I had all the world goods, I would never have all the world goods. That only happens when John says, I must decrease and he must increase. And when that happens, it's only because of a desire that it's like, man, I have all these goods. I enjoyed my life, but why do I don't even care to let them go. It actually feels good to help people anymore. But you know why? Because I was listening to Esau in my head, having these conversations, and then Jacob started to take over, but it was harder because he was wrestling with God, but that's what it is, because the spirit inside of you'll wrestle with it. When you know what the truth is, you can't deny it, you're going to start wrestling with God. You're going to wrestle with the fact of what you're doing, and you don't want to let go of what you're doing because you know you're from the inside and and you know what's happening, and freaking David over there, like, he doesn't even know what he's getting himself into, because even Saul was trying to give him his armor because he's like, you're going up against, and he's like, nah, that's good. I'm just gonna sling him shot right there. I'm gonna leave a mark right in his forehead. So Goliath gets hit with a rock right in his pineal gland. He drops straight to the ground with his face planted. And then he's starting to listen to the spirit that because I think all that David needed was 5 smooth, original stones. Just 5 of them. They need to be smooth and original stones from the ground. And just sling them. Knock them down. You see how the spirit goes, you start to understand, oh, that's what God, oh, now I get it. I was under I thought God was this guy with white hair and a big beard. No, it's just the spirit that takes over out of nowhere. That's the God spirit. And so before I hopped into YouTube, that same spirit of what I understand to be God, I will not deter from his name. I don't look at it as Yahamalak, Shamalak, Yaha, Meshua, and all the other names. The God of heaven and earth, heaven and hell, right and wrong, the creation of good and evil, the creation of the DNA itself, the spark of life. Before you were here, you weren't. But God was. So that's the God that I've communicated with before I hopped onto YouTube. That's it. And it's the same God that I communicate with before I hop on and push record all day long. It's just communication. There's no sound. There's no audio. There's no nothing. It's just a constant flow of thoughts that go in the right direction. You got 2 minutes until this ride is up, and it started back there. I usually do it because, like, I like to when time goes by pretty quick when I drive home or drive to work, keeping myself company. I used to rewatch all my videos. I don't anymore, but I do realize this: when I do rewatch my videos, I feel like the Lucifer side of me is watching more because it's more judgmental. Because I'll get like that feeling sometimes. Because as I'm saying it, I get into a rhythm. Sometimes I get to veer off track a little bit. But I can see how other people would, you know, how I get on people's nerves. I understand. I get it. Just don't let it bother you too much, because then you're doing that thing where you're becoming weak-minded as you think you're strong, but it takes more energy to stay angry, but it takes more strength to just let it go. You realize how much stronger you can be when you just drop everything. Yeah, it's a lot of weight. Yep, your calves are getting built up, but you're weak because you're carrying all that weight unnecessarily, which is kind of stupid on your end. If you just drop the weight, sever the first Esau thought, and go with the second one of Jacob that's wrestling with God, then the firstborn is going to die. It's a good thing, because the second, the younger, is going to be served by the older. That first idea, don't do it. Get a second opinion. Just you know,